What's going on, guys? So today we are going to be tuning my blow-off valve essentially. And what exactly do I mean by tuning? Essentially, Tial blow-off valves, you can actually put stiffer or you can put softer springs depending on what you want your turbo to do or react in that sense. So my turbo is kind of fluttering a little bit. Some people like the fluttering noise. I personally don't. It kind of gives me anxiety, even though I know my turbo can handle it. I currently have a 10-pound spring in there. My vacuum is reading super low. I think it's reading like 4 pounds or 5 pounds of vacuum. So I bought I think it's a 7-pound spring and a 9-pound spring. So don't quote my word on it. We'll double check and just make sure. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a softer spring. I'm gonna throw that in there and then see if my blow-off valve is actually open at idle. If it's not open at idle, then I'll test drive the car with that super light spring and then see how it reacts, see if it sounds good, make sure there isn't that much fluttering going on. Because right now, if I'm not hitting over at least 1 pound of boost, it flutters quite a bit, and it's not, I don't know, it's one of those things that's kind of like stressing me out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the blow-off valve out, show you guys how to change out the springs, and make sure you don't damage that diaphragm. It's very important that you don't damage the diaphragm on a Tial. So yeah, we'll make sure that we get this all installed correctly. I'll show you guys how the whole process gets done. My blow-off valve is in a different location than where yours is probably going to be at. So it's very different depending on what model you have and like how your intercooler piping is all set up and ran. So I'm gonna take my Tial blow-off valve out and we're gonna change out the springs, go for some drives, and just make sure everything sounds good. So other than that, yeah, let's get to it. So to get this all set and done, all you really need is just an Allen key set, and that's pretty much it. Just know what size that your actual hardware takes, and then yeah, it should be pretty easy to take the blow-off valve out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Loosen this bad boy up. These do take a special O-ring to seal up where it mates to the actual intercooler or charge pipe. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't lose that actual O-ring, because if you lose it, you're not gonna have a proper seal, and that's going to really ruin the way that the blow-off valve is going to react and how your car is going to run. So yeah, so I went ahead and loosened this. I'm gonna take this one bolt out, just leave it right here. Awesome, so now that this clamp is off, you can go ahead and remove the blow-off valve. Like I said, there is an O-ring. It is currently on the charge piping. It actually did not fall off, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. And pretty much just disconnect your vacuum line for it. There you go. So now that you have your actual blow-off valve out, you're gonna go ahead and start loosening these. I'm gonna bring this to a flat surface just to make it easier on me. Be a little careful, or should I say be very careful. If you don't know what spring is in your actual blow-off valve, there might be a lot of tension. It might like want to pop out at you. So just be very careful when you're loosening this. It's better if you do have like some type of like vice or a clamp, you know, to kind of compress this to prevent this from just popping out at you. So just be very careful. I'm gonna do this on my workbench, my little toolbox, and yeah, we'll continue on forth with this whole blow-off valve quote unquote tune. So yeah. And then these are the two sizes that I bought. So I went ahead and I bought this one that's a 7-pound, and then I went ahead and bought a 9-pound. I feel like the 7-pound is going to be the right one. There's nothing softer than that. Softer than this would be like, I think like a 3-pound or 2-pound, which is way, way too light. So this is probably gonna be the best bet for me. So I'm gonna throw the 7-pound on and then pretty much throw it on the blow-off valve, reinstall the blow-off valve, and then go on a test drive and make sure that the actual blow-off valve is not fluttering. If it is giving me a little bit of flutter, that is the best I can do. And if the blow-off valve is open at idle, then I'm gonna go ahead and have to switch over to the 9-pound. So yeah, there's nothing in between from there. So yeah, let's get this thing thrown on there. I'll show you guys how to pretty much take off the whole top hat of the blow-off valve. I said just be very careful of the diaphragm that you do not want to damage. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so to get started with the whole removal process, you go ahead and start loosening these. Like I said, just be very careful when you're doing this, because there is tension since there is a spring in there. So just be very, very careful when you're taking this off and installing it. Yeah, because like I said, there is tension on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get a towel as well. Put one under here. I'm gonna grab this one right here in case. This is for when I actually am ready to start taking off the top hat. So it's pretty much gonna loosen them like so. Typically when you start loosening these, you kind of want to go kind of how you would do a wheel. So all right, so I'm gonna do just kind of just do that to just loosen it for now. So I'm gonna do this one first. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to loosen them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these loosened for you guys, and then yeah, so I'm gonna cut on back when this is pretty much gonna start coming off. Now I'm actually just gonna grab a glove just in case, just to make it a little easier on me. Alright, so I got one last bullet left. And there you go. So now that is all off. So pretty much you have springs, right? So you have your spring rate and pretty much how much pounds of pressure there's going to be coming from the spring. This is going to affect how your blow-off valve pretty much opens and closes. Since there is a diaphragm, so this closes it up. There is like a little piston. I'm going to show you guys real quick how this actually works. So there's a piston right here that pretty much opens and closes, okay, and that is pretty much the diaphragm, so which is this rubber portion right here. So this right here is the whole diaphragm. So you want to make sure when you're doing this, when you put everything back together, make sure that nothing on the diaphragm is getting pinched, because if something gets pinched, then you're pretty much going to have a vacuum leak, and that's going to cause the blow-off valve to not respond the way that you want it to. So just be very careful when you're putting this back together. So we're going to go ahead and clean this off, and then pretty much I'm going to see which spring feels very similar to this one and just go with the softer one. So the 7-pound should be softer than this one. I swear this is a 10-pound springs. So this should be a 10-pound spring, so the 9-pound should feel a little bit lighter than a 7-pound. 7-pound spring should be a lot lighter than this one. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off, and then yeah, I'm gonna kind of squeeze the springs and see which one feels similar and go with the lightest one. All right, so I'm gonna clean this up, make sure this is all good. Awesome. So yeah, this one right here is going to be the 9-pound spring. Should be feeling very similar to that 10-pound. So let me see here. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell that this is a 9-pound spring for sure compared to that 10-pound. So I'm gonna throw on the 7-pound first. This is the lightest that it goes. So if the blow-off valve is open at idle, then I'm gonna have to go with the 9-pounder. But yeah, this one should be way lighter for sure. Oh yeah, can already like straight up just feel the difference between the 7-pounder. This is actually going to be easier for me to install as well, since I don't have to put that much force down to actually get this thing to seat. So pretty much what you're going to do here is get your spring seated in there like so, and then you'll get your top hat, and then you're going to go ahead and then press it down and line up the diaphragm. Be very careful pinching this right here. I mean, I kind of feel like using just a little bit of like oil or something to kind of make sure it just slides in easier. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not, but I feel like I might end up doing that just to prevent any type of damage to the diaphragm and just make everything go a little bit smoother. So I'm gonna just put just a little bit, not a lot, just put just a little bit on there. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead, just throw these little bolts in there. So there are 6 of them, so nope, there are all 6 right there. So I'm gonna go ahead, press this down, try my best to not damage the diaphragm, and then pretty much go from there. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so once you get these pretty much just to the point where they're just threaded on there, you're going to check the diaphragm with a flashlight and make sure that the diaphragm is going in smoothly and there aren't any pinches anywhere, because that is not good. Looks like everything's checking out fine. Yeah, everything looks good. So when you tighten this down, it's gonna be the same theory as you would a wheel. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just go all the way around in a circle. So yeah, it's not really all that hard to change out these springs. It's just it can be a little sketchy sometimes. So it's like I said, just be careful when you guys are doing these. So you can really hurt yourself if you don't have an actual vice grip or a clamp to keep that tension down when you're taking it apart. And the thing about like putting on the top hat and how you tighten it, just go little by little. Just don't go too crazy with it. Just little by little until essentially you get to the point where it completely just stops. So once you get that all set and tightened down like that, you can just go ahead and just go in a circle. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's tight, tight as well. So it's good, 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 and good. So just gonna check this one this last time. Cool. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw this blow-off valve back on the car. Essentially, you just repeat the process. It's just gonna be the opposite though. So make sure you have that O-ring in there, so that way you can actually seal up the blow-off valve. So I'm gonna go ahead back to my car, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and throw this bad boy back on. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and throw the blow-off valve back on. So the O-ring did end up falling off, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the O-ring on first. It's gonna be quite the hassle. I don't know if the actual, I don't know if that O-ring's actually sitting correctly. Kind of feel like it isn't. Let's see. Oh no, it's seating. Okay, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is put this clamp right over here. Let me see here, is this the threaded portion? Yeah, this is the threaded portion. So throw this thing on there, just like so. Slide this bolt through. And with the way that like my blow-off valve is kind of set up, it's kind of helping me out that this thing does kind of hit the fender a little bit, because it's actually making it easier to install the actual clamp here. So cool. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. I think that's how I had it before. So go ahead and get my little vacuum hose, plug that thing in, right it back the way that I wanted it. All right, so now I'm just gonna tighten this, and then after this we're gonna go on a drive and see how this thing drives with this new spring. Like I said, what I'm trying to get rid of here is the flutter when I'm actually on light loads. I just don't like the way that it sounds. It just gives me anxiety. So this is essentially how you tune a blow-off valve, well, specifically a Tial blow-off valve. So this is technically tuning it. You pretty much tune it with springs or washers if you end up doing the washer route. I've heard of people doing that, but I went ahead and just went with the spring. So this is the 7-pound spring, so we're gonna go ahead and go for a drive, and we'll see how this reacts, and we'll see if this blow-off valve actually stays open once I turn it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the car, and then we'll see if this thing actually stays open or if it stays shut. If it stays open, that's not good. If it stays shut, then we should be okay. That looks like it's staying shut, so that's good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip the throttle. Look at what the blow-off valve does. So it's gonna open up as I flip the throttle to let air out. So that's a good thing. That's what you wanna see when you're letting off the throttle plate whenever you're pretty much driving. So whenever the throttle plate closes, you want that blow-off valve to open and release pressure. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna drive it around. I'm not sure if it's letting out too much air. We're gonna drive it around and just see how it does. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and go on the drive and see how the blow-off valve is reacting now. Yeah, I think this thing is going to be letting out a lot of air. So these injectors just don't like it when you let out so much air, or just idling in general. Just these injectors don't like that. Hopefully this doesn't really create much of an issue. I am on speed density, so like I'm really hoping it's not really gonna like ruin the drivability that much, having a softer spring in there, because I do kind of need it. So all right, let's get on out of here. Oh, this thing's gonna keep on dying on me. what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to reset the ECU. Let this thing just relearn itself. Yeah, because at this point, yeah, I think that's what I need to do. Just have it relearn pretty much the whole drive cycle and how the car is going to react. Just because it's probably not used to letting that much air out when I'm closing the throttle. Really, the thing about like Subarus is that they're very picky on mods. So of course, every single time you do something to the car, you should really disconnect your battery and reconnect it, or reset your ECU afterwards. So yeah, so we'll see how this thing drives. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and give this another shot. Hopefully the car starts behaving. I don't know if it is going to. That's the thing. It's just with the other blow-off valve spring, like it was just fluttering like crazy. So hopefully this fixes it. The other thing is, like, I don't know if these things want to be able to idle well. Should be okay since I'm on speed density. Like, there really shouldn't be any issue, but you never know. You never know. So we're gonna go ahead and just drive around the block. Just want the turbo to be happy. Yeah, no more flutter after that. Yeah, that's pretty much what I needed. No more flutter, so that's nice. Oh yeah, that sounds crazy. Oh yeah, that sounds so crazy. Yeah, well, that sounds like a well-functioning Tial for sure. Yeah, the old one, well, with the old spring I had on there, it's just fluttering a lot. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That is literally how I wanted this to be responding. Like, I'm not even hitting boost, and like it's opening up the way that it's supposed to. So just remember that with your blow-off valve, you don't really want it to be super tight. I mean, there's some people that do it super tight. There's like benefits to it. I don't know the exact reasons why there are benefits to having a tighter spring. I know there are benefits, though. I'm not too like in tune with my theory when it comes to like how blow-off valves react and like what works and what doesn't work, what you want, what you don't want. But just like keep in mind, like especially for those that have like journal bearing turbos, like turbo flutter, like it sounds cool, but it can be very bad for your actual turbo. Like you can prematurely wear out your turbo that way. And like with my turbo, it can handle it for sure because it has like the little ports to let the actual boost out. I don't know, I get anxiety and it stresses me out, just because like I've always just known that turbo flutter is not really a good thing, because you're pretty much what's going on is like the turbo flutter is the pretty much what you're hearing is air fighting the turbo. Like it's like when you close off the throttle body, there's nowhere for that air to go. So what your blow-off valve does is that's supposed to release that air into either back into your intake or into the atmosphere. So when your blow-off valve is not really doing its job and letting the air out, that air is not going through the blow-off valve. Now where it's like the next track is either some type of intercooler leak or a charge pipe leak, and then from there it would just be straight to your turbo. So pretty much that fluttering noise is essentially the sound of air fighting the turbo because it's trying to find somewhere to escape and go. So just keep in mind that, you know, like turbo flutter sounds cool, but it's not really good because if you have a journal bearing, you're essentially applying a force on the actual thrust bearing, and you can prematurely wear out turbos that way. Sounds super cool, but you can really ruin your turbo. So that's just what I know, and you know, just from what I've seen and all that, what I've read, is just turbo flutter is not really a good thing. My turbo, from what I know, can handle it, but I'd rather not. It just gives me anxiety just knowing that it can, you know, prematurely wear out a turbo that's, you know, not made to do that in that sense. So yeah, I mean, so far, like, it seems to be driving fine. Like, yeah, perfect. It's literally doing exactly what it's supposed to. So I would say this was definitely a job well done. So go ahead and drive back to the house. Probably gonna do just one pull, just see what it sounds like. Roll my window down, just because like I've heard that Tials sound very crazy when they're properly quote unquote tuned. So yeah, we'll do a pull with the window rolled down and see how that sounds. Oh, dude, that sounds crazy. That sounds absolutely crazy. Holy hell. Wow. Wow, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but wow, that sounds so crazy. That sounds really good. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That is so dope. Yeah, it's definitely a lot, it sounds a lot deeper now that the actual blow-off valve is like venting to the atmosphere the way it's supposed to. It's not like chirpy anymore, so yeah. If I don't like the sound, I guess I'll go with like the tighter spring, but I mean, I like it. It's not fluttering, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to, so yeah, I'm chilling for now. Alright, and that is pretty much how you tune your Tial blow-off valve or change out the springs per se. So I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, let your homies know about my build and everything. I hope you guys are really finding all this stuff useful. As always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.